In Wasteland, we can see how Walker's exploration of key themes reflect aspects of the world as it was when she made the film. But first, we have a question to ask you. Do you ever think about garbage? Or where your trash goes? If your answer is not really, we don't blame you. Once you put your rubbish out to be collected, it just goes away, right? But as much as we don't like to admit it, there is no away, and garbage doesn't vanish. It must go somewhere and be collected by someone. Oscar-nominated filmmaker Lucy Walker has always been interested in garbage. This turned into an obsession when she joined a university field trip to Staten Island's Fresh Kills landfill. Yes, that's its actual name. The Fresh Kills dump site was as huge and stinky as you can imagine. Some of the garbage hills were taller than the Statue of Liberty. At the time, Walker was just learning the craft of filmmaking at NYU. But this field trip was a light bulb moment. As Walker gazed upon the mountains of muck, it hit her. She must make a film in a garbage dump one day. Fast forward to 2007, and Walker's stars began to align. By this time, Walker had already made 2 critically acclaimed documentaries, Devil's Playground and Blind Sight. She was searching for a new film project and keen to meet Brazilian artist Vic Muniz. As a contemporary artist, Vic is well known for his inventive use of junk. He creates stunning images by carefully arranging different materials, including chocolate syrup, dust, and pieces of plastic, then photographing it from above. When you look at the final image close up, it just looks like random material. But when you step back, the masterpiece reveals itself. When Walker visited Vic at his studio in New York, their conversation soon turned to garbage. Walker knew that if she combined Vic Muniz, a Brazilian landfill, and catadores, or garbage pickers, the result would be magic. But there was a snag. Most of the landfills in Brazil were controlled by gangs. They were dangerous, disease-ridden, violent places where cameras were not welcome. How could Walker safely shoot a film in such a place? Then there were other, broader concerns. In 2007, the world was rocked by the global financial crisis. It was the worst economic disaster since the Great Depression, and major economies around the world were plunged into deep recession. The Iraq War was also dragging on, costing trillions of US dollars and hundreds of thousands of lives. Would anyone care about art in a world like this? Did people still buy expensive art? Absolutely. In fact, it's in times like this that art matters most. Why? Because it feeds our need for beauty and revives our hope in humanity. And that's what Walker's collaboration with Vic Muniz was about, art and humanity. Having grown up poor in Sao Paulo, Vic Muniz likes to reconnect with his Brazilian roots and give back where he can. Thanks to his wild success as a photographer and mixed media artist, Vic now practically prints money. He also splits his time between his studios in New York and Rio de Janeiro. At his studio in Rio, Vic employs kids from the favelas, or slums, as an ongoing social project. Rio de Janeiro is a city of striking contrasts, rich and poor, mountains and beaches, city and forest, celebration and violence. It's also a melting pot of ethnicities, cultures and creeds, which makes Rio one of the most fascinating, vibrant, hectic cities on the planet. Nearly 1.5 million people live in the city's sprawling favelas. That means almost a quarter of Rio's population live in these shanty towns, mostly constructed from salvaged materials. You'd be surprised how resourceful people can be. But here's the thing. Despite the rate of poverty, in 2009, Rio de Janeiro was named by Forbes magazine as one of the world's happiest cities. So it's a mistake to assume that just because people are poor, they're miserable. Walker was inspired by Vic's social outreach in Rio and saw the potential for a new, life-changing project. But it wasn't about handouts or charity. As Vic explains in Wasteland, the impulse to help people who seem disadvantaged can be a form of arrogance. Walker and Vic had to navigate the questions of how to help and how they could get it wrong. So if the project wasn't so much about raising money, what was it about? More than anything, Wasteland was about making art that highlights the beauty, talent, and humanity of society's outcasts, the catadores. When Walker visited Jardim Gramacho, Rio's biggest landfill, in August 2007, it wasn't what she'd expected. Instead of being a scary place filled with damaged people, Walker found the coolest people she'd ever met. Walter, the Yoda of the landfill, came cycling towards her on his bike, honked his horn, and flashed her a peace sign. And that was it. Walker knew that she and Vic had to somehow capture the beautiful human factor of Gramacho. Catadores are among the poorest and most neglected people in Brazil. Vic mentions in the film that their identity as garbage pickers means that they are treated like garbage by the upper classes. Brazil's entrenched class system is, according to Vic, the most poisonous thing about Brazilian society. Poor people in Brazil are rarely given a voice, let alone honest portrayals in mainstream films. But Lucy Walker and Vic Muniz were about to change this. It's true that most of the catadores Walker and Vic met at Gramacho were led to that life through terrible circumstances. Many had been picking since childhood and had missed out on a formal education. But what struck Walker was that they were the most courageous, resourceful, and dignified people she'd ever met. In a 2010 interview, Walker described the catadores as though Shakespeare had got there first and made these characters so incredibly inspiring. Even though Walker had studied at some of the world's most prestigious schools, she described Walter, the legendary bard of Gramacho, as the most powerful teacher I've had in my life. The community spirit among the catadores was another revelation for Walker. She declared that she couldn't find that much joy and spirit in any office she'd ever worked in. The sense of camaraderie at Gramacho is pretty unique. Irma's customers sing for her when she cooks. Zumbi's colleagues saved his life, and Walter helps everybody make good decisions. Tiao, one of the film's main characters, is all about community spirit. He founded the Association of Pickers to represent the 3,000 catadores at Gramacho and develop the community there. Since the adjacent favela was home to over 13,000 people, the association established things like a medical clinic, a daycare centre, sewerage, and paved roads. Not that living and working there was easy by any means. Coping with the conditions at Gramacho was still a struggle. Aside from the filth and stench, there were other things that required sheer determination to endure. Working at the dump site exposed the catadores to bacterial, fungal and viral infections. Suelim mentions that as the reason why her mother stopped working at the dump site. Then there were the terrible injuries caused by garbage trucks, tractors, and collapsing mountains of garbage. Zumbi knows all about that. The cramped, rat-infested favela at Gramacho was also confronting. In the film, Vic says it's the worst favela he's ever seen. It was as though the Catadores and their families were completely forgotten by the authorities. The rent was cheap, but residents had to put up with crime, gang wars, and dead bodies in the landfill. When the association is robbed by men with guns, Tiao despairs because he knows the money is gone. Walker documented this terrible crime and Tiao's heartbreak because it reminded her of a line from Shakespeare's King Lear. As flies to wanton boys are we to the gods. They kill us for their sport. It means that sometimes it feels like there's no justice in the world, and that whoever is running the universe delights in our misery. It's true that life is filled with struggle, but there is also transformation. Walker has said that Wasteland is about the transformative power of art. On one level, it's about the transformation the Catadores experience in their lives through Vic's portrait project. On another level, it's about the way Walker, Vic, and the entire crew felt quite recycled and renewed by the entire process. Then again, it's also about how the art of documentary filmmaking can transform an audience's perception of complete strangers. It's amazing how people can go from random nobodies to human beings you genuinely care about. As a film student, Walker was inspired by the documentaries Hoop Dreams and Streetwise. She was captivated by the way they zoomed in on the tumultuous lives of total strangers, and their storylines stuck with her for years afterwards. When it came time for Walker to make her own documentaries, she emulated the same storytelling techniques. We can see that in the way Walker draws us into the personal struggles of the Catadores, especially Tiao, Isis, Suelim, and Magna. Just as Vic transforms ordinary materials into stunning and very expensive artworks, Walker wanted to transform our perception of Brazil's Catadores. They go from being anonymous and almost invisible, like tiny ants, to vibrant, lovable characters with fascinating stories. If you found yourself Googling the names of the main characters in Wasteland, Walker has done a good job. Walker has dedicated Wasteland to Walter, who died shortly after meeting Vic. She will always remember Walter quoting the old Portuguese wisdom that 99 is not 100. Every single bottle and can counts, every word and action matters, and each catador is a valuable human being. Great job, team. In this lesson, we've looked at the way context shapes Lucy Walker's exploration of art and humanity, identity, community spirit, struggle and determination, and transformation in Wasteland. So, the next time you throw something away, will you think about where it will end up? Or the people who will collect it? Maybe you could save it and transform it into something amazing. We hope you enjoyed this Schooling Online production. For more easy lessons, check out our other videos.